And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rimes.
And welcome to the show. Thanks for spending some time with us here on Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate program, helping you win in any marketplace, interviewing all of the best, absolute best attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, specific industry experts as well, like Jason Mears today from Florida Best Quote Insurance, going to be on the program here as well. We got Michael M.D. on deck, massive IT. He's our tech expert. We're going to talk about that TikTok case that's going on right now or recently in Washington, D.C. as well. And we always have a feel-good story of the day coming up here. Saved by a saxophone. A delayed flight gets unexpected holiday cheer for cranky travelers. You ever see cranky travelers out there? I have. I know we have. I know we all have. But Jason Mears in studio with us. We're going to talk with him in just a moment. Before we do, we always like to feature our real estate listings live on air. The strategy works. It helps us sell faster for more money with less headaches. And we feature our listings in ways that no other real estate company can offer. Maximum exposure for our real estate listings, and all of our sellers, our highest duty is to get the most exposure that we can. That way we can lead to maximum profits in a shorter marketing period. 8107 Sierra Manor Lane, beautiful property. Just showed this one yesterday, and we got offer coming in, but we keep promoting because you never know. The deals may not pan out to be a successful negotiation. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, and if not, we get a backup. 8107 Sierra Manor Lane in Tampa. Beautiful property here, 4 bedrooms, 4 bath, 3-car garage. You got a 2-story single-family home, 3,611 square foot, over an acre of land. So you got an estate-style home on over an acre land here with private waterfront. You have 130 feet of private water frontage, 6,000-pound boat lift, private dock, direct access to the waters of Upper Tampa Bay, heated in-ground pool, spa, expansive patio. Beautiful property here. Lots of updates. Too many to mention here on the show. But check out 8107 Sierra Manor Lane if you're in the market for waterfront $1 million listing in Tampa Bay. 4218 Rudder Way, Newport Richey. We got vacant land, 10 acres of land for sale on the waterfront. Build your dream home, or maybe build a family compound. A lot of families are liking that. Bring in, multiple family members and come on in and build your very unique waterfront palace here at Rudder Way, Newport Richey. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Only in America.
All right, Jason Mears in studio with us. Let me plug our sponsor here for this segment, Lee's Royal Services. Lee's Royal Services. He does a great job cleaning our real estate properties. Lee's Royal Services for your interior of your home. Lee's Royal Services, handyman service right here in Tampa Bay. And for your exterior, talk to Heights Soft Wash, pressure washing company right here in Tampa Bay as well. HeightsSoftWash.com. Ramin is a great partner of the show, longtime friend, HeightsSoftWash.com. Make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, Jason Mears, welcome back, sir.
Mr. Brandon, how you doing, man? It's good to be back.
Things are great, man. Blessed and highly favored. I feel like a sense of optimism. So many people do. The economy, the transactions, the real estate. So many things are looking good right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think I know there's still a lot of people that are trying to get back on their feet from everything that's happened with the hurricane season that we've had. Thankfully, that officially ended a little over a week ago, so we don't have anything to worry about now. But yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of people that are getting back on their feet, feeling optimistic about the future, optimistic about this holiday season. And like we'll talk about a little bit today, thinking about maybe buying. And I know there's a lot of people that are looking to sell their house as well, so we've got some tips for them.
Yeah, tips for home buyers and home sellers.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll talk to both sides of that equation because it's a balancing act. People talk about the inventory levels, and we went through in 2021 right after the China virus hit, that whole housing crisis that kind of happened and so many people moving from out of state. So we had that low inventory, which is not good. It causes so many challenges to buyers and people buying sight unseen. And sellers getting a little bit cocky and too confident, saying, hey, I'm going to ask for more money and multiple offers, right? And then you have the flip side where you had back in 2008, you had all this excess inventory on the market. '09, kind of had that mortgage meltdown, and then you had these banks releasing so much inventory. You had foreclosure inventory. You have traditional sellers, and then if you couple in some home builders as well, it can get really clogged up on the selling side, and then buyers are able to kind of make offers and kind of lowball people. But it is a balancing act, low inventory versus high inventory. We want to be somewhere right in the middle.
Yeah, we do, and I know right now there's been a lot of inventory over the last couple months of people that maybe are just fed up, right? Sadly, that maybe they flooded multiple times, or maybe they just don't want to have to deal with another storm or another event in the future, and so I'm sure you've probably dealt with some listings like that, but I know for the people that are just wanting maybe to move, or they're wanting to get off the coast, I think knowing some things up front are very, very important on that. I think probably the number one thing that's changed a little bit over time as far as recommending some things for the seller would be get a pre-listing inspection done. In the past, I think there were a lot of options. There were a lot more options where you could, hey, the buyer could come in and go, hey, I want to buy this house. I'll worry about replacing the roof myself after closing. I'll make those repairs after closing. And over the last few years, those options have pretty much dried up. And so it really puts the emphasis on the seller to make sure that if there were repairs that need to be done on your home, you need to look at focusing on taking care of those ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So get that at least a 4-point inspection before you list your home and see if there's any major component. That hot water heater is way too old, over 15 years old, or that roof is way past its useful life. And get those things taken care of before you list the home. I would say that's probably the number one tip right now.
Yeah, many advantages there too. Not only, yes, it's good advice to do it, but here's why. You have the ability to market the home as, hey, pre-inspected, no issues here, right? As much as we can say that as a blanket statement, no issues here. You can always find something. But yeah, so you're going to be pre-marketing, and then that buyer is going to know that this home has been pre-inspected because they may have just fallen out of a contract where they already paid for the appraisal, they already paid for an inspection, and maybe they had issues there with the house and the collateral side of the 3C equation, the income, which is capacity, the collateral, and the credit. Those are your 3 C's that you talk about when you're buying real estate. So yeah, and then as a seller, the peace of mind of knowing, hey, I'm not going to get renegotiated with, because that's what we always see, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, okay, let's see, what can we do after we're under contract, but we're trying to negotiate how we can make this work. You just eliminate all those problems up front, and you don't end up losing a deal. So make that a priority up front. The other thing we're really emphasizing a lot, with realtors, is to reach out to us for those pre-listing quotes. Let us quote that home for you for home insurance. Now it'll just be a standard quote for as far as like if the buyer is going to be using it as a primary residence.
Yeah,
it could be different if they're going to want an annual rental or something different, an Airbnb. But we can quote, hey, if the buyer just wants a primary residence quote, let's quote it as it is now. And then that could be a selling point on the selling side, so you've got a flyer that you've printed out and it's at your open house, and a buyer comes in and you can say, hey, here's a good estimate of what the home insurance is going to cost for this home. And then the buyer can actually make a decision there, like, well, that's something I can afford,
right,
and something I want to move forward on. We can check flood insurance and that sort of thing as well. So we're really putting a big emphasis on that on the selling side as well.
Right. Yeah, the more of a clear picture that you can give that buyer when it comes to the insurances, if there's a condo or HOA, like here's the fees, here's what's going to be included. The clear picture that you can give that buyer, you're going to eliminate a lot of the potential objections there.
Yeah, I would say that is exactly right. And flood insurance is a whole nother animal on top of that. One thing I was thinking about that might be a priority too is the seller to pull any sort of flood clue report, or like only the seller, the person that owns the home, can actually pull a claims history for flood damages in the past, and they can do that straight through FEMA. A buyer can't do that. A buyer's real estate agent can do that. So anything like that can be set up ahead of time. I think there's going to be a lot of buyers now that are like, hey, did this house flood? Has it had a flood history of any kind? Well, the seller can go ahead and pull all that information up front so that the buyer has the peace of mind of knowing this is not a problem house.
Yeah, and if they don't disclose, if they have seller disclosures and they don't disclose, they could be opening themselves up to major litigation and possible criminal charges if they are covering up things. I remember the story you hear about there was a person up in, I think it was like Hernando County, that omitted the fact that they had a sinkhole. And he just admitted that fact, and that's a material fact to the property. Yeah. You have to disclose something like a sinkhole.
Yeah, and we're running into an issue now, and you might know all about this, but y'all, as a realtor, you have that new flood disclosure form, right? That you have to basically on the seller, they have to say, I did not file a flood claim or something like that.
Right.
But the problem we're running into with even that is that, let's say that you have someone that is selling that home because of flood damage from these last storms, and they sell it to an investor. Then that investor turns around and sells it to a buyer. Well, that investor can legally say, I have not filed a flood claim.
Right.
But there was just a flood claim filed 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a little bit of a weakness in that form, but also, again, it's an emphasis on have that seller, the homeowner, pull that flood claims report. They're the only ones that can do it, and that can actually help the buyer make an educated decision.
Wow, that's a good tip. Jason Mears here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Florida Best Quote Insurance here in studio with me, and we talk a lot about real estate and these consumer advocate tips. And Jason, when you also think about just in general speaking, I want to back it up a little bit and go into a little bit more of a macro look here, looking down. What do you see happening, or what's the status of the insurance industry? Are some of the carriers coming back into the marketplace?
Yeah. So 2024 was actually a really good year overall for that. I mean, you had around 10 companies that I know of that did not take a rate increase at all for the year 2024, 9 other companies that took a rate decrease. There's a lot of concern that, well, did these 2 major storms that hit our area impact that? And from what we're hearing from a lot of our home insurance carriers is it should not make a massive impact. Not like what we saw in the last few years where home insurance rates were just doubling out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
So they're pretty confident that we won't see that. We haven't seen any major increases from anybody so far. I think we had one company take like a 3 or 4% increase there for 2025. But I don't think we're going to see a big hit in the home insurance market. The flood insurance market, it's hard to say. FEMA's always not had a lot of money, I guess, or the National Flood Insurance Program. I mean, it has not been funded. They have to refund it every single year through the government. So as far as what could happen with rates with that, it's hard to say. But I think overall the home insurance market is going to remain stable, and we're going to see those rates stabilize regardless of what just happened.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we're going to take a quick break here and come back and talk more with Jason Mears. Also, I got an interesting tweet here from Elon. He was talking about concern over a lot of the money, the foreign aid being spent overseas. I'm going to jump into those numbers because the numbers are pretty staggering between us as number one as far as world's largest donators of humanitarian aid worldwide, and then versus number 2. I want to go through the discrepancy there. Also, more consumer tips around the insurance space, plus our feel-good story of the day. Saved by a saxophone. Delayed flight gets unexpected holiday cheer for cranky travelers. Feel good story coming up here. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rimes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumerqb. That's patriotmobile.com /consumerqb. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Lindsay Rhymes here with Archer Place in Gainesville, Florida. Our luxury condo community is located only 1.5 miles from the University of Florida, 5 minutes to Shands Medical and Butler Plaza. Our buyers love the high-end luxury amenities in their building, including a state-of-the-art fitness facility equipped with Pelotons, the resort-style temperature-controlled pool accompanied with cabanas and grills, and the gourmet chef's kitchen in our clubhouse that overlooks the pool. We have pre-construction pricing only for a limited time, with floor plans ranging from a 1-bedroom, 1-bath to 2-floor penthouses with plunge pools. Starting in the low 400,000s to the high 900s, investors, parents sending their young adults off to school, medical professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs alike are investing in these residences. Reach out to us today at 727-263-3707 to get more information.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here. Quick shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Excellent food, very friendly wait staff, and a wonderful ambiance there at the International Plaza Mall. Brio Tuscan Grill, longtime friends of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Say hello to Chef Oscar Ramirez Joseph, who is the general manager. Let him know the real estate quarterback sent you to take him up on those special offers. And we are in studio here with Jason Mears, coming up more with him on the insurance side. Before we do, a couple of hot listings here. 7720 Maryland Avenue. This one's in Hudson, Florida. If you are a investor or a buyer for vacant land, check this one out. So you can buy vacant land here, 2.36 acres, and it's zoned for mobile homes. So you put some mobile homes on there, you potentially have a cash cow income producing property. He's telling me you get up to about 18 or 20 of these mobile homes in there. 7720 Maryland Avenue in Hudson. A great opportunity for that particular type of investor. 2309 North Brentwood in Lecanto. This one is a golf course community home here. Citrus Hills Golf and Country Club. You have 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,700 plus square foot single family home at 2309 North Brentwood Circle in Lecanto. Lots of updates here. Kitchen that has stainless steel appliances, breakfast bar, natural gas cooking, as well as you are in the country club there as well. Great opportunity to buy real estate. Village of Citrus Hills close by as well. And you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, Jason. So we talked a little bit on the side of the sellers. Now let's switch to the buy side. So when you're getting a mortgage pre-approval, it's also important to factor in taxes and insurance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, hopefully, are going to be considering moving to Florida here early this coming year, or people in Florida moving just to different areas. You want to make sure you get that mortgage pre-approval to see what kind of a house you can afford. But then also just really a huge emphasis on making insurance part of that initial process. Now, the selling side can help with that if they've already gotten a quote, but we also want to make sure that the buyers are doing that, and knowing that there are factors that can impact that rate, the age of the roof, a wind mitigation inspection. So we want to put a real emphasis on the inspections, getting those done up front. But things like, needing date of birth, and so that we can run claims history and credit and things like that to make sure that we get the best rate possible, because without some of that personal information, it's just an estimate, right?
Yeah.
And then we run some of those reports, and the rate plummets sometimes. So,
is that based on credit score?
A lot of times, yes. So
okay.
credit can make a huge impact on insurance, but also that's why we really emphasize getting the inspections done quickly. So we have that wind mitigation inspection done, and we know what roof credits are going to be applied, and that can make a big difference in rates. So those are just some of the things we want to know up front. Unfortunately, a lot of the home insurance companies don't like certain breeds of dogs. So if you have a certain breed of dog, we're going to want to know about that, so we cannot look at this company or that company, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's just little factors like that we want to factor in. But again, insurance is such a huge impact on whether you want to buy a home or not. So knowing that home insurance rate as well. And then another thing, just getting knowing what the flood zone is for the home. Is it a higher risk, moderate risk, lower risk? Is the mortgage company going to be requiring it from you to have flood insurance? We're always going to recommend it, because the whole state of Florida is basically in a flood zone. Yeah. But sometimes it's just not required, but it's just recommended by us.
Yep.
But knowing what the flood zone is, knowing what flood insurance is going to be up front, I think those are really, really important things for the buyer to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that you do have it, and a lot of times just carry the policy for flood, because even though you don't expect it, it may happen, and especially if you're in an area that may be prone to that. But the policies to have for flood are super low if you're in a low risk zone.
They can, yeah, they definitely can be. It's it's not always, and that's really the tricky thing. At the end of 2022, and when FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program, they changed the way they rate things. So if you're closer to the coast, or if you have a more expensive home, that can impact your rate, even if you're in a low risk flood zone where your mortgage company is not requiring it. But generally, we are going to see lower rates on those. And sadly, we just, through these last storms this year and the storms last year, Fort Myers a couple of years ago, thousands and thousands of people were flooded.
Yep.
That have never flooded before, areas that have never flooded before,
yep.
Homes that were in low-risk flood zones where their mortgage company didn't make them, but they did flood. So there's no such thing as no risk. It's more about a low risk. And so those homes that are even in a lower risk flood zone, we want to run some flood quotes for them, just so that they can know what it would cost, and then they can make that decision on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mother Nature is undefeated, right?
Yeah,
Jason Mears
absolutely.
Here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Reach out to the show hotline. We'll put you in touch. Any quotes you want to get, any pre-approvals, we'd love to help you with that, of course. Buying, selling, or investing. I wanted to get to this story as well, because I saw some video put out by James O'Keefe with O'Keefe Media Group. He does a great job kind of behind the scenes for political conversation, but also he did one of the North Carolina areas that were hit. I didn't see one with Florida, but there's still, I think, a lot of people that are still struggling in our country, and that maybe got denied, maybe didn't. Their claims, they didn't get quite what they thought they were going to get. But this video showed just devastation still, and that was just a few weeks ago. But because Elon Musk expressed a concern over the U.S. foreign aid spending, questioning the prioritization given our significant debt. But when you think about these hurricane areas, so we'll go ahead and put that on the screen, Dave. Look at this. The United States, we have, and this is in millions, so 9.489. That's going to be billions of dollars, I guess, because it's in millions. You add zeros onto that. And then you look at the European Commission. They're 2.1. We're at 9.4. And then Germany, 2.087. And then the UK is like even further behind that. But as our country, there's a lot of needs here that are going unmet rather than spending money overseas. And that was, 10 times the amount just about of that. So, all right, Jason Mears, check him out online. How do you want people to connect with you, Jason?
They can check me out online at floridabestquote.com. They can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Florida Insurance Tips. That's my handle. Or they can call me at 813-385-4441.
Give that number one more time.
813-385-4441. I'll be glad to help.
Check him out online. Does a great job with his channels as well. And good stuff, man. Thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure, man.
All right, taking a quick break. We're going to talk with Michael M.D. from Massive IT, massiveit.com, coming up. Our tech expert here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rimes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rimes here in studio. We got Michael, MD. He's our tech expert, massiveit.com. We're going to talk about the TikTok. TikTok, social media, some of the other things happening. Of course, he can help business owners and folks that have any type of devices. He's our tech expert. He can help you with that. Before we do, a couple of hot listings. We also have our feel-good story of the day. Saved by a saxophone. Delayed flight gets unexpected holiday cheer for cranky travelers. So feel-good story coming up. Hot listings here for this segment. We got a property at 4229 Redcliffe Place. This one's in Newport Richey. Owner is motivated here. We got a small condo, 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo situated near downtown Newport Richey. And you have stainless steel appliances, quartz countertops, mosaic backsplash. So it's somewhat updated in there. Heated pool, clubhouse, shuffleboard courts, 4229 Redcliffe Place, Newport Richey. 1905 Masters Way. Masters Way is another beautiful single-family home, split floor plan home here in Walden Lakes. You have lots of amenities here, walking trails, dog park, playground, sports complex, access to the lake for non-motorized vehicles. This is a beautiful home, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, 2-car garage, 29 square foot single-family home, 0.38 acre lot with no backyard neighbors. Great opportunity to own real estate, split floor plan with an oversized great room, built-in shelves, and great opportunity to buy real estate in East Hillsborough County. 1905 Masters Way in Plant City, and you can see all of our listings at PlatinumMVPteam.kw.com.
Yeah, I'm raising my glass to those saving our ass overseas.
All right, Michael MD back in studio. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in and kind of winding down the year. You know, we're coming into that new year. We got the New Year's resolutions coming up, and that can be for your business too.
Yeah, absolutely. Time to get cleaned up and secured and get those new computers and new servers and get the cloud up and running if you don't have it already. You're
What's the
missing
cloud?
out. What's
I'm
the
just
cloud?
kidding. Have you ever have somebody say, "What's the cloud?"
What was that guy, the painter guy? Nice fluffy clouds.
Yeah.
Right?
The paint
these clouds.
Bob Ross, yeah.
Bob Ross.
Yeah. Put some fluffy clouds over here. You know, little birds
You
over
just
here.
made it so easy.
Yeah, happy accents. There you go. So let's start with the TikTok story. This one's kind of interesting because I think a lot of people, most people understand Facebook. They know what Facebook is. Let's start there.
Yeah.
And then, some people, you start getting into Twitter. They're like, I lose you there. I don't get it. It's 140 characters or, it's still fast-paced. And then TikTok is, a little bit more of a younger generation. Mostly a lot of people dancing around and creating these little short videos. But TikTok asked court to pause a ban. So TikTok and its parent company ByteDance are asking an appeals court to temporarily halt the banner sale mandate that's in place for social media platform and an emergency motion that was filed. But basically, let's break this one down for our audience.
Yeah, so what that means is, TikTok is owned by a Chinese entity, right? Organization.
ByteDance.
A company, the Chinese government, how do you know which one for sure, right? You don't.
Exactly.
And that's what the government's worried about. That's what, tech enthusiasts are worried about. If you look at Facebook and Twitter, now X, right, which it went from tweets to now
X's? I don't know. What are they?
What are they?
X's in Texas. I don't know.
That's
George
right.
Strait.
George Strait. So they're looking at that. And if you read the end user license agreement, the EULA, as they call it, you'll notice all the things that you're agreeing to giving them, right? Like when you connect your phone to your car and you say, yeah, you can access my contacts, right? Mm-hmm. Well, who do you think you're giving access to your contacts?
Right.
Right? The car companies.
Wow.
They're taking that data. They're taking your phone logs, the data. When you have Alexa and Siri and Google Assistant and all these things, and they're listening to you, waiting for you to say, hey, Siri.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what do you think it's doing the rest of the time? It's listening.
It's not listening.
Yeah, it's listening, right? And it's processing all that data.
Crazy.
Right? And, that's just too much temptation for these, other organizations, other entities to be able to well, we could just turn on the button and maybe just capture all that data.
Yeah.
Right? And it's only for marketing purposes. It'll be anonymized.
Right.
Right? Trust me.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And then ultimately it gets abused, right? Because somebody says, well, hey, I have a really good reason I want to get to that other part of the data that was not anonymized, right? And so TikTok's the same way, except that it's going to a foreign country. And I don't know that I would say adversary per se, but somebody who is a competitor in the global marketplace to us, right? Hopefully not an adversary. I'm sure people have different opinions about that. And that's what the government's looking at, saying, look, this is an application we're not comfortable with collecting all this data, especially about government employees, military, soldiers, families, loved ones. Because if you're in the CIA, the NSA, or anything else, how do you get to somebody? Maybe not directly.
Yeah.
You get to a spouse, a sibling, whatever the case may be, right? A family member.
That's right.
And so that's what the government's looking at, is saying, all this data is out there that's being collected, and have you read the EULA for Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or anything?
Right.
Have you ever read a EULA?
I don't read a long email. If somebody sends me a long email, I'm not reading it.
Nobody reads it. And how many times have you been prompted to say, hey, we've updated our license agreement. Just accept it.
Exactly.
Because you can't get in the app unless you do.
Right.
And you're like, well, I got to get in the app.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, whatever, right? Yep. And you trust that it's going to be in your best interest, right? Or that it's fair.
Exactly.
But I guarantee you, Google, Facebook's EULA, Twitter's probably gotten better than it was with Elon in the picture. TikTok, for sure. Read the car company EULAs. When you get in the car for the first time, you connect your phone. It's like, do you have to agree to all blah, 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 right? You're like, yeah. Go. I got to get somewhere. I can't sit here and read this. And so that's where the problem really is. And enter Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, who is interested in buying TikTok, right? Hey, Elon did it. I got to get me one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. They're appealing that decision to sell or be banned because they're threatening to ban it, especially at the government level. So they've already banned it on government, equipment and employees for obvious reasons, right? National security. Yep. But they're trying to take it further and ban it completely.
Yeah, I think we got plenty of social media sites. What I would not miss TikTok one little bit if it's gone. And I think a lot of people have that kind of thought. We're talking with Michael MD. He's our tech expert that is here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Techspert. I just made a new word. But yeah, massiveit.com. A couple of things too. When you talked about just signing those arbitration agreements or those EULAs, they have an arbitration agreement, most of them. Yep. And if you ever have to sue that company, you got to go to their corporate office where their headquarters are. Most of them are in Virginia.
Jump through their hoops.
Yep, and they're mostly in Virginia. So you got to get on a plane and sue that company if you were to have a bad situation. So that came to mind. And then, when you think about Twitter, that has got to be one of the most consequential purchases of anything, especially a technology platform, in the history of the United States. I mean, it's hard to think about something that changed the course of history and in a move towards, not just conservatism, but in a move towards free speech, in the country, because before it was loaded with garbage, on Twitter. But now, and then of course we know what the federal government did to persuade influence the election with the laptop. But you think about Twitter, what a large purchase.
Yeah, and you think about all of these text messages you get about, hey, your package is in the warehouse. You got to, text, click this, touch this link to release it, or call this number, or all the things you get in text messages, right? And you get phone calls of people wanting to try to sell you home solar or something else, right? Medicare, funeral arrangements, things like that. You get all these calls. And where do you think these are coming from? Some of them are legit, right? Some of them are legit. But a lot of them are not. And especially the emails that, how many phishing emails do you get?
Right.
that want you to click a link or want you to go here or do there or pretend to be somebody that you know.
Yep.
Right. All of these different things. These are criminal organizations that are either in the U.S., most likely abroad, who are targeting you with a list. They got your number somewhere somehow, and they're doing all these things and collecting all this data.
Yep.
There's data brokers out there. The hackers have these white market black market, in the dark net, where they just go by credit card numbers. They go by lists of addresses and phone numbers. They pay for it, and they buy tool sets, the tools to do it, right? It's a kit. It's Amazon for the hackers, and they're just buying what they need. And if all the things that I've said on these shows in the past, right, and I said, got to protect your data, got to have multi-factor authentication, got to change your password, got to have this, got to have that. You're seeing now in the mainstream media perfect examples of all of these problems and things coming together and coming to a head. And that includes, the use of technology, not just for phishing and emails and text messages, but also things like drones that are flying over these different areas. And we can talk about that too. But you're seeing all of these uses of technology that are out there that are meant for legitimate purposes, and they're being abused and used against the average ordinary citizen every day.
Yeah.
And they're not prepared for that mentally or technically.
And that open southern border comes into play also, because I was listening to a talk show. I listen to a lot of talk radio, bouncing around and listening. There was a caller that called in and said, "Hey, I was basically threatened and by one of these texting type, phishing type text messages that came in, and then the text messages started to go into, well, I'm with the so-and-so cartel, and if you don't respond or if you don't do this, and so that's scary when you have an open southern border, and we already know that."
Well, yeah, and you could think that those criminal organizations are watching your politics locally, right? And even down to the city level, the county level, and looking at your politics and trying to use something that's relatable to you to influence you into doing something.
Right.
And if you're in a border town, right, if you're down in Eagle Pass, Texas, then they may target those people saying, hey, the cartel, the Tren de Aragua, whatever, whoever it is coming to your thing. I saw something on the news this morning that says that gang, Tren de Aragua, is in 17 states now.
Yeah.
So if they just saw that map, then they could say, okay, let's look in our database and pull everybody that's in, Nebraska, and let's start targeting them with these gang, gang-related messages to try to leverage that fear and intimidate them into doing something, right?
Yeah.
Because the more that they can do, because think about it, they have Google Earth. They can look up your address from the database. They just look in the database, say, let's find your address. Go to Google Earth. They can look at it. I had a home solar guy. I gave him the false address because I got tired of him calling, and finally I just started to participate. He browbeat me into it, and I got interested. So I gave him a false address. He says, no. That's not your address.
Wow.
And I realized he's looking at Google Maps, Google Earth, because he's trying to sell me solar. I'm like, well, at least it's legit. He was trying to look at my roof. Do I actually have a roof?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
He looked me up.
Yeah, exactly.
And so after that, I was like, aha. I went and found a house randomly in the U.S. and an address and wrote it all down, and I had it on a sticky ready for him. He called me again, and I gave him a new address. And he went, oh, yeah, okay, you're eligible.
There you go.
Right?
You're eligible for that, that so-and-so, blah, 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 that they lie about.
That deal.
They say free solar.
Yeah, free solar.
Well, you mentioned Tren de Aragua was in 17 states, was it?
That's what I saw this morning.
Seems like there are more states than Kamala Harris won, aren't they? All right, let's take a quick break here. We're going to come back more with Michael, MD. He's our tech expert. He can be your tech expert as well. You can find him online, massiveit.com, massiveit.com. Also on our Consumer Quarterback Show website, consumerqb.com. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at Brandon Rimes 1 at CQB Show, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, of course, Consumer Quarterback Show. Coming up, Saved by a Saxophone. Delayed flight gets unexpected holiday cheer for cranky travelers. Feel good story coming up.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon Rimes here for AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. My wife and I shifted a lot of our buying habits, and we wanted to support companies that support our values, patriotic, Christian conservative companies. And you can find that online at AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. Now, what you're doing is you're not spending any new money. You're simply buying a lot of the common purchases that you're buying every month for the kitchen, the bathroom, your shampoos, your laundry detergent, all types of great essential oils, vitamins, herbs, those types of products.
And for you beef lovers, we have great beef products as well. Tenderloin, sirloin steaks, grass-fed beef available as well. So check out AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. And I'd love to talk to you if you have any questions about it. There's also a business opportunity there for you as well. 813-917-1894. And thank you so much for supporting our company, AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com.
Lindsay Rhymes here. My husband Brandon and I own the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams, and our team of seasoned agents is ready to help you buy, sell, invest, and love the life you live here in Tampa Bay. Communication, execution, customer service, and bulletproofing transactions are really where our team shines. We service Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties, and we have seasoned agents in residential, luxury land, and commercial divisions. Reach out to us, your Christian realtors, and let us help empower you with the right knowledge to make smart decisions with your next transaction. Call us at 727-263-3707 today. Again, that number is 727-263-3707.
Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here in studio with Michael, MD, massive IT, tech support. All of your tech questions, reach out. We'll put you in touch with Michael. And we're going to talk about these drones, what's happening in New York, New Jersey, what's going on with drones, and also a interesting tip when it comes to your credit cards. Michael's got all that coming up here. Before we do, we always like to tell you something positive.
Tell me something good.
All right, saved by a saxophone. You had a delayed flight that it gets an unexpected holiday cheer for cranky travelers during a delay on Delta Airlines in Atlanta, where passengers had already been waiting for over an hour. Tensions were rising as the replacement crew got stuck in traffic. With the flight attendants doing their best to keep everyone calm, the mood shifted when Wayne Hwy, a former U.S. Army band member, stood up with his saxophone. He began playing Christmas carols down the aisle, quickly lifting the spirits of the tired and cramped passengers. People started clapping, singing along, and cheering for him. And there you go. Feel good story. He was also Army band member for 20 years. He delighted the passengers with holiday tunes, and his impromptu performance seemed to lighten the mood and put everybody in that holiday spirit. So there you have it, our feel good story of the day. Let's get back to Michael, MD, with some great tips here around your credit card and your holiday shopping. Good tip here, Michael.
Yeah, as the holidays come up and we're out buying things, presents, gifts, and things like that, lunches, buying gas, paying for parking, all of those sorts of things, there's a difference between swiping, inserting, and tapping your card, right? And the difference is when you insert your card or you swipe your card, it's actually reading your card and taking the actual numbers off of it and using that in the transaction. Now, a tap, you have the RFID chip inside the card itself. When you tap it, it's using a one-time use token. So it gives it a token, not your actual data. And then that token is used for the transaction. So it's much safer to use tapping on a credit card than it is to swipe a card where they can grab it. You know, you've heard the thing in the past where you hand it to a waiter, they go off, to run it at their hostess station, and they take a reader out of their apron and they run it right through. It's handheld. It fits in your palm. They run it right through, capture all the information off of it. Same thing that happens at the gas pump. And they're opening the pumps and putting in the readers and the equipment inside the pump, and then they come back later and collect it, all that sort of stuff. So definitely want to tap your card beforehand. And you pointed out earlier, use a credit card instead of debit, right? If you're going to do a transaction, because you can recover your funds faster on a credit card transaction than you can on cash coming out of your bank account with a debit.
Yeah, those are great tips from Michael, MD there. Now, what's going on with all these drones in New Jersey, New York? It's interesting to see, man. You see it, and it's been happening before, but you hear it's much more relevant over the prevalent over the last couple of days and couple of weeks.
Well, between the drones and the UFO or UAPs or whatever they have coming out now, where they're starting to kind of socialize that is interesting. We don't know what's going on with the drones just yet, but just in general, we were just talking about someone running a drone at an ATM machine and kind of looking over your shoulder to get your PIN number.
Wow.
If they have a reader in the machine and they can see your PIN number, guess what's going to happen next?
Yep.
They're going to go home and download that data, print their own cards, which they do, and then they're going to come back with your PIN number, and off they go. So the drones, same sort of deal. There's no legislation, there's no protection about where you can fly or how you can fly. Yes, there are FAA laws about you can't fly it around the airport and all that kind of good stuff. But, I have a drone that flies around my house periodically. It's one of my neighbors. I think I know who it is.
Yep.
And, does it bother me? It's fine when it's like 200 feet up.
Right.
But, if it's down at 50 feet, or 10 feet off the ground in my house, in my yard and things like that, that's concerning.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on here is you see all these drones, and especially areas that are military bases, or what was the one, Chantilly Armory or something? I forget what it was in New Jersey.
Yeah,
but there's an armory that was flying over, I saw. So that's really concerning.
Well, the size of these drones too, Michael. They're saying some of these drones are the size of hoods
of a car.
Yeah, car hood.
Yeah. So that's not just your average, run out to Best Buy or Micro Center or Fry's and just, hey, just get a drone for, $500 or a Costco. That's multi-$1,000 piece of hardware that somebody's operating.
Yeah, and especially with Biden falling asleep at all these meetings and stuff, and you see, what his cabinet has done. You think back to that balloon that we had floating over our country for a matter of days.
Yeah.
You think about the nervousness, and then you think about the sucker punch that could be planned before January 20. Something could happen.
Well, it's just like when you think, did I lock the doors?
Right.
Did I turn off the iron?
Yeah.
You're thinking now, well, the border's been wide open. Tren de Aragua's in 17 states, right? And we have all these people coming across the border. Well, why wouldn't they send, operatives over, and why wouldn't they just say, hey, get a drone and fly it over? You're in there. You're there. Yep. You don't need to send a balloon over the ocean. We just go to Best Buy and get a drone and start flying it around.
Yeah.
And then download it, send us the data, right? If you get caught, well, you get caught.
Yep.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to think about and a lot to consider. Michael, MD, can help you with your business, your home, or personal computers. Reach out to the show hotline. We'd love to put you in touch. 727-263-3707, 727-263-3707, online at massiveit.com. He's got an Instagram handle out there, massiveit, youtube.com, massiveit. And I don't know, do you have a TikTok? Too busy for a TikTok, right?
No, we had to sell it.
There you go. Had to sell it. Yeah, you're forced to sell it. There you go. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and it's kind of interesting place in that tech space. There's always deep fakes. That's also out there.
You got to be vigilant. I mean, you just got to watch out. It's out there, right? And you're seeing it now in the mainstream media. The drones, the end user license agreements. They're banning TikTok. Why do you think they're banning TikTok? Right? It's the same reason you should be concerned.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be banned. It needs to be moved. We have enough social media, social not working out there. Social, all that good stuff. But Michael, MD, thanks for coming in, man. Check him out online, massiveit.com. And support the show by supporting all of our local area business owners, expert contributors, and appreciate you doing that. Michael, again, thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So, hey, another great show. We had Jason Mears. We're talking insurance, pre-approvals, mortgage on the front end, and then our tech expert, of course, Michael, MD, here in studio with us. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So please go out there and make it a great day. We'll see you next time here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rimes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play.